So everybody right now is talking about inauthentic content, and they're really suffering on YouTube because of it. And crazy amounts of channels are getting demonetized, like literally in the last few days, more than ever. And I can go ahead and scroll through, and you could go ahead and read. I mean, a basic search on Twitter, and you'll find this kind of stuff. Uh, Team YouTube literally talked about this, whether it be in their policies, whether it be in Twitter posts like this. Like YouTube is replying to people and basically saying, "Hey guys, inauthentic content, just says here, refers to mass-produced or repetitive content. This includes content that looks like it's made with a template with little to no variation across videos or content that's easily replicable at scale." More info here. So if we click on the link, right, and I want to see if this is necessarily like it falls in line, and I kind of want to show everybody how this does fall in line with the idea of this mass production of AI slop. Now, here's the thing. Truth be told, not all the AI content out there is slop. Like, there's some channels out there that are actually really, really good. But the channel that I showed yesterday, you can go ahead and check that video out if you want. The link will be in the description. That was a perfect example of a channel that really offered no real value. Now, the only problem is that there are channels, like I said, that produce AI content. However, it is genuinely good. Like, it's genuinely good content, and yet they're getting demonetized. Well, people have to really understand that there's multiple moving parts here. I have a channel that does story-based content. We're at like 8.3K subscribers at this point. And for reference, I think in the last like 24 hours, we've generated like 4,000 views and some change. So not the best. It's not growing like crazy, but there's consistent growth to it, right? It's not suffering, put it that way. And really, most of my channels, guys, they grow relatively slowly. But when I have a story-based channel, I figure out a way to monetize it. So first off, let's get that clear. I'm monetizing, guys, my channels not through not through AdSense mainly. I mean, don't get me wrong, AdSense is part of the equation, but I also monetize through a product that I'm selling. Okay, and I could talk about more about this in the future, but that's how you can easily make money on day one, as opposed to waiting for AdSense, getting your subscribers up, getting your watch time up, all that. But look what it says here. It says when we check your channel for the final review, what we're looking for is the main theme, your most viewed videos, your newest videos, your biggest proportion of watch time, your video metadata, right? So titles, descriptions, etc., and the about section. Now, first off, there's people who are applying and not even getting accepted, but more importantly, there are people who were accepted into monetization because their channel might be, let's just say, like 3, 4 years old, 2 years old, whatever. And then they create the content, and then what happens to their channel? 6 months in, 9 months in, they get demonetized. And unfortunately, that's like where the peak is about to happen, where they're about to make more and more and more money, and then boom, they get demonetized. They're not allowed to take the money home. Well, we can look at why that is, but if we just do a basic search here, look at this, watch this, right? If I do a basic search here and I search for inauthentic content, it doesn't even come up. It doesn't even register. Or unauthentic content. If I search the word unauthentic, it doesn't even register in the policies. So what is it? Is Google, messing with us? Are they playing with us? Not really. If you do a basic Google search and you search for inauthentic content YouTube or unauthentic, really same concept, it is basically content that demonstrates videos that are mass produced. Now, this is a different moniker than what was said here on Twitter, right? Twitter, Team YouTube comes out with a message and says, hey, it's repetitive content, mass produced content. But here, right, it says mass produced, and then it describes mass production by saying automated or lack original high value commentary. So right now with this statement, psychologically, guys, if you want me to go Captain Inspector, Captain Gadget here and take every keyword term, what they're really saying is that they're targeting multiple areas on YouTube. The first they're targeting is the commentary channels. You know, people who see like a podcast video and they basically like just re-upload it. Well, there's a lot of channels in the past and maybe even today that still make money from that. They're literally just copying a channel's content and just putting it on their channel, like basically re-uploading. Now, YouTube is slowly or maybe even quickly demonetizing those channels. And it's only a matter of time till all of them are demonetized. Now, you might ask me, well, why is that? Well, put yourself in YouTube's shoes for just a second. YouTube has billions of minutes uploaded on a weekly basis to the YouTube platform. All of that costs servers, costs data, costs money, right? Costs electricity. And YouTube currently does not charge people to upload to their platform. I would not be surprised, and I've heard some people talk about this, some insider people talk about this, that YouTube is planning by 2030 to start charging people for the content they upload. I would not be surprised if they start charging people even earlier. But the reason why they have to demonetize these channels is they're not actually demonetizing it. They're just not paying the creators out. Because let's keep it 100% real. They're an expense. They're an expense on the platform. It's not new and creative content. So what is it? It's valueless content. So instead of the word inauthentic, replace that with the word valueless, because it's not adding anything new to the platform. Now, granted, that video that's re-uploaded might help people because somebody else might see that podcast or whatever, be entertained and watch it, but it's still a weight on YouTube's platform, right? Here it says that the videos are automated. This is another issue. Now, when they're referring to automation, let's keep it real. They're not necessarily talking about the visual content. They're talking about the audio content. Now, why do I say that? Well, because this falls in line with the exact next statement that it says. It says, or lack original, or original. How do they determine if something is original? There's something called a brand image. If you go on your own YouTube channels and you look inside of some of your content or some of your channels, I know I could do this with some of my larger channels, you're allowed to create an identity or a personality. It's referred to as your likeness. And you actually can trademark your likeness. People don't know this, but you can trademark your likeness. But on YouTube, now you can secure your likeness. So what that means is you go on YouTube and you create this verification, and you're essentially proving you are who you say you are, and what you look like, and your voice, and your mannerisms, and your style. And what happens is that YouTube now locks you into a certain identity. Now, when other people steal your identity, because that's what people are doing on YouTube now, is they're stealing other people's voice, they're doing all that kind of stuff, so guess what? You can copyright their content. So there's some AI tools that Google is ahead of currently that, like, let's use 11 Labs, for example, right? 11 Labs, what does it do? It takes people's voice, and then you kind of write a script out, and then it can literally duplicate your voice into a script, right? Well, guess what? YouTube is already aware of that, and there's going to come a time where every single person who's doing that gets their content removed. I saw a guy on Twitter the other day who was saying that, you know, it's only happening to people because they're using the same AI voices, and that's not true. There's a lot of content out there where people are using custom voices, but there's also a lot of content where people are using the same voices over and over and over. Both of them are eventually going to get demonetized because that voice is going to have to come from somewhere. You understand? And when it does come from somewhere, the reality is that YouTube already knows who the original uploader is, right? Assuming it's not you. They know who the original uploader is because of their likeness review. Every channel, I don't know about right now, but I know in the future, and I know my channel can do it already, is that every channel is absolutely allowed to secure their own likeness. You can even search this. You can look it up. I have the ability right now to make sure that nobody copies my voice. I have the ability to make sure that nobody copies my face, my mannerisms, like I said. So YouTube, with the power of AI, is doing this system. And we actually saw the most intelligent version of this system back in the day. And it was technology that was ahead of its time when the copyright tool first came out. Because there would be people who'd steal other people's videos and get monetized all the time. So, excuse me. What this is, guys, is this is just a you can say a reintroduction of new protections for content creators that create new content or valuable content. And once again, don't feel disrespected when I say valueless content. For them, if the content is not fresh and new, meaning it's never been introduced to the internet before, it's considered valueless. And I'm not insulting anybody when I say that. I'm just simply taking it from their perspective. So if you fit in any one of these categories, you have to kind of re-look at what you're doing. I've seen some YouTube guys, some gurus, give advice and say, oh, just go back and delete your videos where you think that you could potentially get in trouble for. That doesn't help you. You realize that some people's channels are all the same, like the same way. Every single video is the same. And when I say the same, I mean they're using the same AI, the same 11 Labs voice. They're using the same AI video generators. They're doing all these kind of similar things. So once again, it's not necessarily just one little fix. What they're really going after is fresh content introduced to the algorithms. And more importantly, fresh content is determined by multiple cornerstones. The first thing is the voice, the audio. Is it been used, right? They already have that technology for music. You don't think they could do it for voice as well? Where they could determine whose voice that is and you're reusing it, which basically is a copyright strike, right? And they're already demonetizing channels without explanation for it. I don't think YouTube is in the wrong for this. And to be honest, channels that I have that are info-based channels where I sell products based on those channels, it helps me. It doesn't hurt me. And what you have to realize is that you should never rely on AdSense for your income. AdSense should literally be like the cherry on top, right? It should never be the actual main thing that generates you the income. Because if you're relying on AdSense, you're leaving dollars and you're picking up pennies. Now, most people listening to this who do well on YouTube already have talent in getting views. They know how to create a good video. All you have to do now is don't worry, don't stress. All you have to do is restructure your style, guys. You have to restructure your style. So I have some resources, some things you can check out in the links in the description. But in general, you just have to make some shifts. You don't want to be the guy that's devoted your life to a certain income source for a few years and then all of a sudden have that source cut off and you don't know what to do anymore. Like, that's not the way, because you're going to suffer. And we're running into a time now with AI, with all these different things, that it's making it increasingly harder to make more money. And to be honest, the clock is ticking. Like, there's not going to be any kind of help for most people. Like, people talk about universal basic income and everybody's going to get some money. That's not happening, guys. We have veterans on the street. You think people are going to come save you and just send you a free check every month? It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to take power into your own hands. You're going to have to sit down and say, hey, if I fit in this category, I am absolutely on the chopping block. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what can I do now? First thing you have to do is you have to create new channels. The second thing you have to do is those channels have to be geared towards organic content, ideally not produced by AI, but if they are produced by AI, your monetization strategy has to be a product-based approach, and it cannot be AdSense, because one flip of a switch, your AdSense is over, okay? And then you have to go and start creating content for that. Now, I'm going to post more videos about research and how to make money from your YouTube channel and all kinds of stuff like that. But as just a general reference, guys, times are changing. Like, it's going deep right now. Things are going deep and people are feeling the pain right now. And, it is what it is. I hope everybody can do well. And if you want to see more content, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. And if you have questions, let me know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out. Bye.